Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about the possibility of a new special rule for Black Powder, well a new rule in general, because it's something that's currently not covered in the rule set, and it's a really important and exciting part of Napoleonic warfare that I think would be really good to have on the tabletop, and it is capturing your opponent's colours. Now, not all regiments carried colours into the field. I'm thinking particularly cavalry regiments. British cavalry regiments certainly didn't. And there's some infantry regiments as well. The combined grenadiers, the Russians and Austrians, for example, historically didn't. But there were some examples of them taking the white flag from one of their parent regiments. But overall, those guys didn't. So this wouldn't impact those units, not for having their colours captured anyway. They could still capture colours, obviously. But basically, the idea is if you defeat an enemy unit in combat, there's a chance of losing their colours. Now, why is that important? Well, in history and in sort of folklore of the time, capturing colours was really, really important. If you think of Sharpe's Eagle, the fact that they lost spoiler alert here, the fact that they lost their king's colour was great shame. Old Henry Simmerson, he's called up in front of the Duke. And Sir Henry Simmerson says, "Oh, it wasn't me that lost the colour, it was such and such." I can't remember what the character's name is. "He should pay for this." And Wellington, sort of furious, thumps the table and says, "Pay, sir, he paid with his life." Which I think is a great line. If you've not seen Sharpe's Eagle, or you've not seen it for a while, definitely go back and watch it. But, that's only repaid by capturing the French Eagle at Talavera. There was a British regiment, I think it was the 69th. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this story, so it sounds too mental to be true, but I might entirely have made it up, but it sounds so mental that I don't think I have made it up. I think it was the 69th who had their colours taken at Calatrava, and it was their king's colour, and they weren't issued another king's colour until they got the original one back, which they got back because they found it in a second-hand shop in Paris. I'm fairly sure that's the story. If I'm wrong, which I may well be, please let me know in the comments down below. But it was a huge shame to lose your colour. That goes right back to ancient Rome, where if a legion lost their eagle, then they had to camp outside the safety of the fortress. I'm fairly sure about that. Also, some units which lost their eagles, that's it. They were stricken from the rolls. So I think the 9th Legion, they lost their eagle, and there was no more 9th Legions after that. It just went 8 and then straight to the 10th Legion. So it was a huge thing back in ancient Rome, probably more than it was in Napoleonic time, but it was still a very important thing there. I talk a lot in videos about French eagles. In the Swiss video I've just done, I talked that they were issued eagles. And I always try and talk about them with an almost divine status, as if they're almost religious relics. Now, in some cases, they actually were religious relics. In the Battle of Smolensk, the Russians managed to take the tapestry down from the Smolensk Cathedral, and the Opolcheny units used that later on in the war as their standard. So right from even the French invasion of Russia in 1812 onwards, this unit would then use it at Borodino and then all the way back to Paris in 1814. So that was literally a religious relic. For the French, the eagle had been touched by the hand of the emperor himself, so that was a semi-divine thing. Remember, all the paintings that Napoleon put out there in the neoclassical style had him very much as an almost Caesar-like figure. Obviously, they were regarded as emperors, or I've seen paintings of him as Jupiter, things like that. So it has this whole mythical, religious fervour wrapped up around it. And to lose your colour, as I say, was an absolutely great shame. There's quite a few units who did. The 101st Line Infantry did at Waterloo. That was captured by, I want to say, the Enniskillen Dragoon Guards. Could be wrong, though. I've certainly seen a diorama of it in the Household Cavalry Museum. So I don't know why, if it was the Enniskillens, it'd be there. But anyway, and of course, famously, Sergeant Hewitt captured one at Waterloo as well. And the fact that we even know his name 200 years after his feat, and the Queen's Dragoon Guards even have it as their cap badge. And if you look at colour parties, the Perrys do really nice ones. They've got, the colour sergeants. They're incredibly well armed. They've got buckets of pistols all over them and halberds. The British have got pikes. So, these are well defended areas. So it shouldn't be every time a unit gets defeated it loses its colour. That would be a bit too much. but I think it should be available to happen. One of the things that we've talked about on this channel a lot recently is how to make your armies more competitive, how to make them more effective, and it's drifted away slightly from the how to have fun with your army. I mean, yeah, it depends, I guess, if you like having fun with a competitive army, I suppose. But what I'm saying by here is, one of the big things I find with Wargaming is making your army your army. Now, this is particularly good if you're fighting against a friend or maybe a group of friends, that you develop the story of your army. So not only have you selected the units that you've painted, but, you know, it gets to that point where you just, oh, do you remember the time in that battle when the 48th Black Watch held that building against an entire brigade of French? Or do you remember the time that my Russian cuirassiers charged your French infantry in column of march and lost the combat and ran away? You know, these things happen, and it's the good things and the bad things that really give the army the personality that make it your army. It's what turns them from being, you know, just little bits of plastic to something that, you know, you've got that connection with. I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but, you know, if you're going to paint 500 figures, you've got to have that connection with them, I think. And this is something that can just add to their annals. It can let you poke a bit of fun at your opponent. You know, one of the things that you could do is, if you capture a colour, then next time you play, you could have that captured colour model onto your unit. You know, that kind of thing. So, what are the rules I'm proposing? Well, I think it should happen. I think it should happen, but not all the time. It's one of those things where, you know, it's an exciting thing. You want it to happen in your game. You don't want it to happen once in 1,000 games, but you don't want it to happen 1,000 times in one game either. So the rules I would propose are, and I'm going to put these on the screen as well. That's the reason why this video is a little bit late coming out, is I wanted to get that in. So I'm calling it Capturing the Colour. There's no point giving it a complicated name. And it's going to be, if a unit rolls in melee, so it's obviously got to be in melee. You can't capture a colour if you destroy a unit with a cannon or something. If a unit takes a morale test due to a lost melee, if the result after modifiers is 4 or less, then the unit's removed from play. It's what I call explodes. So if a unit explodes in melee, then roll a dice. On a 6, you've captured the colour. Now, don't roll for every unit involved in the melee. It's just one dice. If you roll a 6, then you've captured the enemy's colour. If you are a cavalry regiment and you're fighting an infantry regiment, then you can either do it one of two ways. You can either add 1 to the dice, or you can roll 2 dice. So whichever one you decide. I'd probably add 1 to the dice just to make it a bit more simple. So then you'd capture the infantry colours on a 5+. And that's because, you know, you look at the artworks, it's usually a cavalry regiment, maybe French dragoons, or, as I say, the Scots Greys or something like that have captured the enemy colours. So enemy unit explodes, rolls a 4 or less after modifiers. Then you roll another dice. On a 6, you've captured the colours. Now, that can just be for bragging rights. I mean, that's one thing. Like I say, if you're playing your opponent regularly, that can be quite good fun. I think there should probably be an on-field advantage for that as well. Nothing too strong, but something that would help. So you could, for instance, give the restore stamina point. That might be a thing you could do. Obviously, you can't restore the first stamina point they've lost, but if they're taking, say, 3 stamina, they've captured the colour, it gives them the extra verve they need to carry on fighting, so they go down to 2. That's one you could do. Or you could perhaps give them reroll failed morale saves until they still fail it. So for argument's sake, they roll a 3, they're just dragoons, so they've got a 4-up save, they roll a 3, they reroll it, they roll a 2, so they've still failed it, so then they lose the bonus. You know, that moment of vigour that they've got from capturing the enemy standard's gone in the face of overwhelming enemy fire, or, you know, however you've lost that point of stamina. So that would be my recommendation. If an enemy unit explodes in combat, roll a dice. On a 6, you've captured the colour. 5 or 6 if you're a cavalry regiment against infantry. If you do capture the colour, then I'll leave it up to you guys to decide. Let me know which one you think's better in the comments down below. You either regain a point of stamina, or you re-roll failed morale rolls until you fail it, and then it goes. But that's it for today. I just wanted to say thank you very much for watching. YouTube seems to... my views have really dropped off in the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure what's going on with YouTube. I think they're messing with the algorithms. And I have noticed a large portion of my viewers, they're not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, I know it's a bit of a pain in the arse to get a Google account going, but if you've got one, please subscribe. It really does help the channel, and it helps you make sure that you see the new videos as they come out, because I'm not really sure what's going on with them at the moment. Let me know what you think of those rules in the comments down below. If you think they're any good, they might be complete trash. Like I say, I've not tried them out yet, so let me know what you think. If you don't like them, but you think the ideas sound, then let me know in the comments how you would implement the possibility of capturing some standards. I think it really adds a bit more excitement to the game. I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your continued support, and I'll see you guys next time.